All right, the reason I'm saying this is because I'm going to talk about a topic that I think is passion, where what you guys saw here is a passion, the liveness, the dancing. My topic is Journey to Passion. Before I start my topic, I want to tell you a little bit about my story, how I found my passion. When I was a little girl, I wished to become what every little girl wished to become. I wanted to get a good education and get a good job with a good pay and make my parents proud of me. I wanted to get accepted by the society, and I wanted to get respected by my peers. And most importantly, I wanted to prove it to myself that I can become a successful professional. So I went after it boldly, and I did it. By the time I was 27, I had 2 master's degrees. And I was also working as a project manager for one of the Fortune 500 companies in America, Verizon Communications, as a project manager. I was making around $100,000 a year, which is a pretty good pay, even by American standard. But then something happened to me, which actually I told myself, well, all this time, you always told yourself you gotta do what you gotta do in order to get where you wanna get. And there I was. This is a destination that I dreamed of reaching. I achieved my goal. And I asked myself if I wanted to continue doing what I was doing that time. An answer came as a shock to me because it was no. And the truth was, I didn't know what I wanted to do next. I did not know what made me really happy. With that question in mind, I took off from my life. I took off from my responsibilities. I even quit my job. And when I told my boss that I was quitting, he said that I was bold and stupid. He said, nobody stops living looking for life. And I told him, well, I owed it to myself. I needed to do it full time. So there I go. I did soul searching. I read books. I did meditation. I did volunteering. And I interviewed all kinds of people. I wanted to know what made their life happy. I wanted to know what made them successful and what meant meaningful life for them. So there I go. I started asking all different kind of questions to all different people. I included my parents. I interviewed them, and I said, when I was a small girl, what was my talent? What was my dream? And with all this question, I started doubting myself. I started questioning and wondering and thinking that, well, what is it that life that I dreamt of? And eventually, after 5 months of struggling, soul-searching, breakdown moments, the question that I was looking for was just in front of my face, staring at me all along. And I just needed to look into myself and find myself, rediscover what I was looking for. I'll tell you what kind of person I was before this stage. I did not know the word passion. I didn't know it. When I thought of passion, I thought of talents. I thought of performing talents. I thought of singers, dancers, and actresses. And I thought of America's Got Talent show, Britain's Got Talent show. And I thought of amazing Susan Boyle, how amazing her voice is. And you know how some of them are also not so amazing contestants in the shows? Or because I belong to that group, I really suck at singing. I know that I don't have that talent, but that made me feel like I don't have any talent at all. I felt like, I was just living by somebody's life. And basically, I realized that I also didn't like my job. Truly, if I asked myself, do I really like my job? I did not. I was doing it for the money, for the fame, for the title, you name it. I was doing it for what I thought was success, what most people considered as a success. But then now, today, who I am, I'm a passionate professional. I love what I do. What I do is headhunting and career coaching. I meet people every day. I meet all kinds of people every day. People with talent, people with passion, and people who are also fulfilled. These people, each one of them has a unique stories, and each one of them has special talents. And I discover talent, I extract talent from them. And some of them are amazingly talented, passionate professionals. And what I've learned from them is there are basically 4 important ingredients for a happy, successful career, and those are experience, education, skill, and passion. So let me take you to each one of these. Education. Well, most people think of education as a means to an end, and what I mean by that is a diploma to get into a job. Well, I interview people. But there are some students who come to me who's got a diploma but who hasn't got the life skills, the basic skills to get into the job. Because they didn't see it as a learning process, because they did not see it as the very foundation of your concrete building if you were building your own future career. But there are some people who understood that what they're learning from the education is eventually going to benefit and help them to figure out who they are. Some of them not only gained academic knowledge and life skills, but they also discovered their interests. By interest, what I mean is, say, business administration. You study HR or marketing or finance. You specialize in one of those areas. Along the way, you discover yourself. If you're good with people, you get into HR. If you're good with numbers, you get into finance. And these people dare to experiment what I've learned in school. They went out there and experiment courageously. They made sure that they stay curious. Just like Albert Einstein said, I have no such thing as talent. I am just a passionately curious person. See, they made sure that they experimented enough to find out that what is it that they're good at, what is it that they like, and what is it that it made them feel alive. See, what you're getting from education and experience, it's the skills that you're getting out of it. It's not the diploma, it's not the job title. You're getting out so many skills that's later going to benefit for you in order for you to become a valuable professional that I'd like to headhunt every day, that clients of mine ask for, who's ready to pay any amount of money, because it's the skills that paying for. It doesn't really matter whether it is professional expertise or professional skill or life skills. And I want to ask you here, what is it that you're learning from your job today? What is it that you're learning? Think about the skills that you're learning. And I also want to ask you, what is it that you're really good at? What is it that you can contribute immediately if anybody were to hire you? So with that questions in mind, I want to share my story. First job in India was sales college, and I was working for a British outsourcing company who called Australia and England. So here's what I did. Hello, this is Jennifer calling from OneTel. How are you doing, sir? I hated it. Most people hated it, trust me, the colleagues that I worked with. And I'm sure that people on the other end of the phone call hated us because we were calling somebody's home at, 11 p.m.? But what I've gained from it is so many skills that benefit me a lot today. Say, sales, cold calls, opening the call. How do you start the conversation? How do you do ice breaking? How do you do rebuttaling? How do you do closing the call? And most importantly, even from the job that I hated, I learned listening skill. Yes, with these ingredients. Now we have become a valuable professional. We've got the education, we've got the experience, and we've got the skills. Yes, you have become someone valuable who I'd like to headhunt. But the question comes in your life, a stage where you question whether it is really what is it that you want. You might be feeling stuck, lost, unsure, and unfit, maybe pressured. I don't know what you do. Maybe if you are assistant, maybe if you're manager or director, it doesn't really matter. Job title doesn't really matter. What matters is, what are you getting out of it today from the job that you're doing? And for me, it came in a hard way. Yes, I have achieved my goal. I was there. But I had to really acknowledge the voice inside of me that I was telling I was not happy. There comes a stage to everyone, I believe. And maybe you have failed at something and you question yourself. You maybe know you are not good enough. And with this question ahead, it leads you to a passion. For me, it was the most important ingredient that was missing in my life. That are now these dancers had in them. And Ochmo, and I know, yes, they had it in them. The livelihood, the aliveness. When you hear them, they made you cheer up and you could feel it in them. That aliveness. And what I discovered is, my passion is not from the performing talents, not from singing, but from my profession. I discovered that aliveness from my job itself, from the very person who I have become. So I want you to ask yourself, are you feeling alive at whatever you're doing at your job? Are you feeling alive in your life? And with these ingredients, these make you a happy, successful, passionate, talented professional. What I'd like to call it is a propassion. Propassion stands for professional with a passion. And you know passion? How many of us do we really know what passion stands for? You know, we think of passion as a sexy thing, or I don't know, But after all, it is discovering your true self, understanding who you really are deep down, and honoring your core values. You know, what is it that is really important for you? And feeling good about what you do. It's a strong feeling of excitement about what you do. And for me, passion feels like you're emerging into a space where money, fame, time don't really exist. It's where you come alive. And as Steve Jobs said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. That's what happened to me. That's how I discovered. Because I did not know what I wanted to do next. And I had to look into the person who I have become. I had to look into my past. I had to look into visit my past and really discover myself. See? And looking back, I think life is what you make of it. It's like you're harvesting your own seeds. You know, we plant those seeds consciously and unconsciously. We plant those seeds knowingly and unknowingly. We make choices in life, in career. We take chances and we face challenges. But that's what makes who we are, really. You know, I want to tell you my experience of recruiter. See, I was working as a recruiter in the States, and I did not know I was there for a reason. And I really thought that I got that job because I just needed a job after my second master's. So what I did is I challenged myself. I go ahead and said, I took up more challenging jobs, more high-paying, fancy title jobs, just to prove it to myself that I could do it. I could do anything that I want to do. And then I realized that I found my profession long ago, only after discovering that I wrote 100 pages thesis on recruitment 5 years ago when I was studying MBA. You know, I thought I just chose the recruiter job because it came to me. It seems like everything happens for a reason. It seems like we all plant the seeds along the way, and we just need to look into ourselves and rediscover and look at it in a different eyes. And with that, Howard Thurman said, ask not what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive. And then go do it, because what the world needs is the people who have come alive. And I dare you to discover your passion. And I dare you to embrace yourself and come alive. Thank you.